Story 1. Even after being with my wife for over 20 years, I still have not managed to find the fine dining establishment called I don't know. Story 2. What I thought was my longest relationship was not my longest relationship. The longest relationship anyone ever has is with oneself, and I neglected that one. Story 3. You cannot make someone do the things you need from them by doing all of the things they need from you. Story 4. If you catch someone cheating on you, there is no fixing it afterward. You will never be able to trust them again. Story 5. When she leaves, it is over. Do not hang on to it. Keep your head up and move on. I wasted 3 years of severe emotional pain and trauma by feeding on breadcrumbs and hope when it was already over. Never again. Story 6. Divorcing after almost 10 years together. Make time at least once a year to sit down and go through past photos, videos, and memories. Do not take the time for granted and remember the highlights and good memories, because there will be times when it gets tough and it is very easy for the negative to overwhelm you both and overshadow all the good times you shared. Revel in the positive highlights, especially during the tougher times. Story 7. You cannot fix someone who refuses to fix themselves. In a relationship, effort must be mutual. If one person will not take responsibility for their problems, staying only drains you. Sometimes walking away is an act of self-respect, not abandonment. Story 8. Life is hard. Even if everything is perfect, life finds a way to cause problems, such as health issues. That means even if I find the perfect girl and we are a great couple, we can still feel sad for reasons beyond our control. Story 9. Be wary of relationship advice from others. The wise ones can be the worst. There is no benefit in a lifetime of regret. If you have a brilliant opportunity with a good woman, take it with both hands. Story 10. I forget the exact quote or the author, but it was something along the lines of, once you realize you are on the wrong train, the longer you stay on it, the more it will cost to get back home. I think of that quote often when I think of that relationship. I knew for a long time it was not right, but kept convincing myself I was overthinking it. I considered time spent in the relationship as a value or something that was earned, but it did not make it right. Story 11. Someone who thinks the world of you today can treat you as a complete stranger tomorrow. Do not let others control your happiness. Story 12. At the 5 to 6 month mark, if they suddenly go from love bombing you with 100% affection to 0% and become obsessed with their extreme independence, run. This is a classic avoidant personality disorder situation, almost as bad as narcissistic behavior. It is unfortunate that their fear of affection when things get serious causes them to pull away, but it is not your responsibility. Break up. Story 13. The way you give love may not be the way your partner receives love. People have different interpretations of what love is. Often, this is shaped by the romantic relationships they observed growing up, likely their parents. If your partner's parents had a toxic relationship, they may interpret toxicity as love. No matter how much you try to be a calm and positive influence, it may not be seen as familiar and may not be interpreted as love. Stability is unfamiliar for people accustomed to chaotic relationships. Story 14. Pay attention to personality issues, even in their slightest form. Over time, they will amplify. In my case, full-blown malignant narcissism. It reared its head occasionally in the early years, only to become full-time later on. Learn personality disorders early and distance yourself as soon as possible. You will save yourself tremendous angst in the long run. Story 15. You can do everything right and be the best version of yourself. Sometimes it is still not enough. People change, feelings change, and before you know it, you are back to square one. Story 16. My biggest lesson is that if I want an excellent relationship, I need to be honest, transparent, emotionally available, ensure she is satisfied first, and listen to her without trying to fix anything. Story 17. You can do everything in your power to make someone happy, but if they do not desire you or are using you to fill a role until someone they actually want comes along, it will not change anything. You can be the good man she has been searching for, but without that raw desire, the relationship will not survive regardless of the effort you put forth. Story 18. If you dislike how she treats a close friend or relative, you may be next. Trust your intuition when something feels wrong. My intuition was strongly warning me in the end that she seemed dishonest and was looking to take advantage of people. Trust your intuition. Story 19. Being honest is always more valuable than being nice. Also, it is better to talk about things right then. Story 20. You have to remember to stoke the fire now and then. It is too easy to start taking each other for granted. Story 21. Break up with them. Stop letting someone else's feelings come before your own happiness. It might even be better for you both in the long run. Story 22. If you are acting a certain way because otherwise the relationship will end, just let it end. It is better for both parties. Story 23. I saw one on Instagram. She didn't change. She was always this horrible person. You just couldn't recognize it or ignored it until it was impossible to look away. Do not let emotions blind you to the negative possibilities that you see. Those spending habits that make you a little uncomfortable, that is a future problem. Slightly annoyed at how often she drinks, future problem. Frustrated that she punches your shoulder to show displeasure, future problem. My personal experience is that the negatives only get worse unless they are open to self-improvement from the start. Story 24. I learned that womanese is a language that needs to be observed, studied, documented, and taught widely. Story 25. When you have been together for many years and have already talked about getting married, but he has not proposed yet, it means he is not really ready or does not love you enough to marry you. I learned that the hard way, and I am always thankful that his brother told me about it, even if it was out of pity. Story 26. It is important to acknowledge the motivation behind why someone wants a relationship, because if it is fundamentally wrong, the relationship will never work and should never have started. Make no mistake, people enter relationships for the most irrational reasons, with love sometimes almost absent. Story 27. If you say to yourself, this relationship is perfect except for X, with X being a huge critical issue, then that relationship is not perfect and you have your answer for leaving it. Story 28. The bottom can fall out for any reason at any time, even with no one to blame. I was with someone for 8 years. It felt like the beginning and like it was never going to end for either of us. We were still having sex at least 3 times a week. We had just gone on vacation in South America for 2 weeks, and she was talking about us growing old together. Then, she suddenly realized she was no longer a woman. She changed her name, started taking hormones, and eventually concluded she was no longer attracted to men. In less than 3 months, she had completely removed me from her life with no contact, and I had to figure everything out on my own with little to no feedback about what roles I might have played in that outcome. I was lost and confused for years. I kept blaming myself and beating myself up, but could not figure out why it happened the way it did. Nothing else made any sense either. So, I try to really appreciate the good periods in relationships while they are happening in the present moment. I really soak it in, savor the experiences, and build memories. Because anything can happen no matter how self-assured, secure, and comfortable you think you are. Can be gone in an instant, whether it is death or sudden life changes. And there does not even have to be a villain. Life just never stops happening. Story 29. Trust your instincts. If you suspect something, there is most likely a reason, even if you do not directly see it. Story 30. Money attracted the woman I wanted, but struggle attracted the woman I needed. Unfortunately, I was drunk on power and married the wrong one. My next lesson was, pretty women are like a roller coaster. The wait is long, the ride is short, and there are other men waiting to get on behind me, because that's what my ex did. She waited until I was a finished product, the wait was long for me, and slept with me at the finish line to dig her hooks into me. I wished I had stayed with the woman I needed. She was my longest relationship. My ex-wife was a short-time tramp who slept around with her old college classmate. He was waiting in line to get on the ride. Story 31. No matter how many times they say they love you, they may not love you. Remember, no is always a valid response no matter who they are. Men need to set relationship boundaries too. Story 32. Being cheated on is not as horrific as I thought it would be. Wasting long years is a completely different experience. Story 33. You can do everything right, everything you are supposed to do, and life will still kick you in the teeth. At that point, the only thing that saves a relationship is both of you deciding that the relationship is more important than yourself. My wife and I got married as virgins. I was 20, she was 22. We wanted each other desperately but waited for 6 months of dating and 2 years of being engaged. A few years in, she got injured, then sick with a condition that made sex extremely painful. The condition persisted for 8 long years. Then, just 2 years after recovering, my lumbar 4 and lumbar 5 discs disintegrated, which means that pressure and motion that moves my hips causes excruciating pain down my sciatic nerve. I am healing from treatment even now, but so far it has only gotten me on my feet and let me be a father to my daughter, not yet a lover to my wife. We still have fun whenever and however we can, but our friendship and our love for each other are what sustain us when we cannot. Story 34. After a year, not only was there zero trust, but having a job, not a career, was more important than giving me support. Not having or initiating sex one time meant I was not attracted to her, or if I was, it was for fetish reasons because she was overweight. I learned, probably the hardest way possible, that nothing I could do was ever going to be good enough. Story 35. It does not matter how much someone loves you. The only person who values your time is yourself. Story 36. What people say and what they truly believe are two very different things. As someone else mentioned earlier, love is a very fragile thing. Story 37. A man needs the ability to wash off the mud and return to his original source. Usually, it is the one playing the "look at me, I am not guilty" victim card. Story 38. The longer you have been friends with someone, the harder it becomes to notice how they mistreat or use you. Story 39. Self-value. Prioritize yourself and stop getting too invested only to be hurt in the end. You first. Story 40. When you are in a sexless relationship, no amount of chores or emotional bonding will restore your sex life. Story 41. People change. You cannot control anything but yourself. Do not move across the country to live closer to others. You will be a stranger in a strange land. Story 42. Never get involved with a woman who has children. You can provide for them and raise them throughout their entire lives and have no legal recourse if she decides to separate. Story 43. Women don't always value what you have given them in the past. Could be a holiday, a new iPhone, a car, a house, or a luxury watch. You gave her the highest honor of being your wife, a solid engagement ring, and more. It doesn't matter to her. It's in the past, and she is only looking for what's coming next. She can and will leave you and disregard all of the history you shared. What matters to her is what comes next. Story 44. Currently, the longest friendship is watching them raise kids. Don't have kids with someone's potential. Have them with someone actively doing. If your partner doesn't go to the hospital with you when you're sick, chances are it will be a fight to get them to sit with you when you have kids. If your partner doesn't save money for future goals when you have no obligations, getting them to save money for kids' activities will be like pulling teeth out of a camel's mouth. It may happen, but there will be a fight about it. If you fight about household chores currently with no kids, chances are your partner is waiting for your kids to reach the right age to offload the responsibility onto them under the false narrative of teaching them how to do things. Story 45. Better to be single and alone than to be with someone who is miserable and makes you feel lonely. Story 46. The person you marry will not be the same person in 10, 15, or 20 years. While people change habits and personalities, you must be prepared for the person to completely change and become someone you never would have wanted. Some people change for the better. Some do not. I was married for 16 years. My ex-wife was in shape, beautiful, positive, happy, and fun to be with when we got together. We had sex 3 to 4 times a week. When she filed for divorce, she was a miserable, morbidly obese, anxiety-ridden person who refused to have sex in the last 2 years of the marriage. Another lesson. You are the only one in the marriage, not your family and not hers. I almost filed for divorce in our 8th year due to some issues we were having, but I gave in to family pressure and did not. When she filed for divorce after 16 years, it followed several years of unnecessary mental stress and aggravation. costing me several $1 million in assets in the divorce settlement. Story 47. Do not automatically comply with the common sense advice of well-meaning friends. Do not be presumptuous about red flags or possible hurdles in an online relationship. Yes, there are real risks. You may feel conflicted because there is a considerable age gap. One or both of you have limited financial resources or significant financial needs, and maybe most challenging of all, she resides in another country. However, this is important. Your friends or family do not know the person you are writing. They have no clue as to the nature of your relationship. For example, just because a man is writing an attractive younger woman does not mean that she lacks sincerity, honesty, character, or moral boundaries. Your married friends are, by default, likely to be skeptical of any distance relationship you enter. Counselors may respond with knee-jerk opinions that you are being scammed. However, if you follow their advice and end your relationship with your new acquaintance, the person your friends know nothing about, you can seriously harm both of you, causing wounds and regrets that last for months or even years. You may also miss a brilliant life opportunity. I am not saying to ignore red flags. I am not saying your friends are wrong. I am not saying that you should not appraise for yourself who it is you are writing or seeing. After all, there are real scams, but you must do the due diligence and make the call yourself. There is no substitute for your own judgment or for a foundation of mutual integrity and respect in the partnership you wish to develop. To start, meet her and meet her family as soon as possible. Spend time together. Review. Make your own decision based on solid experience, not because some friend told you that people behind screens are illusions or that mid-December relationships cannot work. Story 48. My current relationship is my longest, lasting over 4 years together and over a year married. Here is a valuable lesson I have learned. I am fortunate to have a relationship as secure and healthy as the one I have. The positive aspects of your relationship can bring out the worst in the people closest to you. These traits become especially evident when planning a wedding. You will discover who is truly envious of what you have and will need to establish firm boundaries to protect your relationship. Many opinions will be directed at you, often with the expectation that you will comply. It is essential to take these opinions with a grain of salt. The only person who has a real say in my life is my wife. Story 49. The longest one is not bitter. The record holder is a tiny little angel. If you want a bitter lesson, it is about partner choice. Story 50. You can attach phrases such as that you know of, or as far as you know to any statement about how good your relationship is, and it would still be true. Story 51. Despite saying otherwise, women enjoy playing mind games with men. It is a skill that took years of experience for them to perfect. Story 52. I had one that was a bit shorter than my current relationship, but no matter how good you are to someone, when it ends, you will always be seen as the bad person. Story 53. Don't lose yourself in someone else's mental and physical health issues, because sometimes it makes it worse. Story 54. It is a difficult choice between 1, a significant waste of money, and 2, women being similar to children, specifically regarding accountability, emotional maturity, and lack of forward-thinking ability. I also observed that women tend to have an affinity for misery, both external and internal. Therefore, I believe it is wise for a man to accept these factors before engaging with a woman long-term to better navigate the challenges that will arise. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.